All right, so it was just yesterday we discussed the brand new claims from Nate the Hate and various other credible gaming outlets within the industry, all corroborating the same information. The January 16th looks to be the first look at Nintendo Switch 2 officially from Nintendo, that is, because we know about the leak floodgate situation. However, since we made that video and discussed that particular story, there is an update to the actual release time frame that Nate has been predicting around this console, which has not changed according to his podcast, and we mentioned it in yesterday's video, that it's still going to be that May/June time in his opinion personally. He's not saying April's out of the realm of possibility, but he's very much expecting a May or June release time for the console, and we now have another major outlet corroborating that exact same launch time frame, which should probably start gearing our expectations to see more of a late spring, early summer launch for this console, as opposed to a very quick reveal to release turnaround like some online were expecting to see. And if you listen to sources like accessory manufacturers, it seemed like April might have been a go for this console's launch. So we have to get on the same page with that big update. Then the part 2 of today's story has to do with yet some more third-party, very exciting games that seem to be slated to be heading to Nintendo Switch 2. And considering this first look trailer presumably will be primarily focused on hardware, we also have to break down when we might see these games ultimately get marketed and revealed officially for Nintendo's next-gen platform. But we'll get on the same page with all of this info. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And we have to first kick it off by hopping over to VGC, where you can see this snippet from their article, which says Switch was first announced with a hardware-focused trailer in 2016, which was followed by a full reveal the following January, where games and release info were announced. Although Nintendo didn't formally announce games in the first reveal, titles such as Mario Odyssey were shown running. Nate the Hate speculates that Switch 2 could launch in May or June of this year, which matches with what VGC has heard from its own sources, and that the new version of Mario Kart could be available at launch, followed by a 3D Mario release during the holiday period of 2025. So let's unpack that May to June time launch window for the console. Well, it would give us a little bit longer in terms of Switch 1 software that we will probably still see announced and released from Nintendo. I would expect, and what Nate is expecting from his podcast, a February Nintendo Direct to potentially take place earlier in the month in February, and kind of pad out the rest of the Nintendo Switch 1 launch calendar for this year, because obviously so far we know that Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is presumably coming out on the 16th, literally the same day that the Switch 2 reveal trailer is claimed to go live, and some people think that that's like a guarantee that Nintendo won't do it. Look into Mario Party Star Rush on the 3DS. It wasn't a simultaneous worldwide release, but Nintendo actually dropped that 3DS game on legitimately the exact same day, October 20th, that the Switch 1 was shown off, and of course that was in Japan and other regions when it was released on the 20th, but that's literally the same day a new 3DS game came out. We saw the Switch 1 trailer go live. So that Donkey Kong launching a double port, literally something that's already come out before on 3DS, ported from the Wii and then ported again to the Switch, is not going to be the piece of software that stops Nintendo from marketing their next gen console. So I don't think those two overlap, but we know we have Donkey Kong for this month. We have Xenoblade Chronicles X, which also got an updated trailer for the month of March, and we are literally in the dark entirely outside of that. So Kirby Planet Robobot is a game that Nate talks about that will be coming out this year from a first party Nintendo perspective. Maybe even the likelihood of some, missing ports like F-Zero GX, the long rumored Fire Emblem remake, and of course we have the outstanding rumors of a Metroid Prime 2 and 3 port sitting somewhere ready to go. All that kind of stuff is prime candidates for to show up at the February Nintendo Direct, and I think that that's going to be all primarily Switch 1 software, and then we're going to see presumably at the end of the month in February more of a Switch 2 software presentation, but Nintendo will no doubt still have stuff for us to play in the meantime if we do have to go through the entire month of April and most, if not the entire month of May, before we get the big launch title. Now, I do want to make it clear, while this article cites that the possibility is that this console will launch with the brand new Mario Kart, I actually think from a business perspective, that's probably Nintendo's best decision because of the success of the sales of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but I don't necessarily think that that's a confirmation. It might be more speculation, because Nate makes it pretty clear that he's not sure what the launch game will be in his podcast, but he does see Mario Kart being a good fit, and then continues to speculate that 3D Mario might be the holiday 2025 game that will help sell Nintendo Switch 2 consoles once again, of course. So we have to wait and see on all of that. We did have those next handheld rumors that there is some game with a 9 in the title that is going to get some kind of special edition console, and that's actually not shipping out first, but rather it's going to be something that will be down the pipeline a little bit. So launch title or not, it might be something like we see, Metroid Prime 4 launch as a cross-gen release, and that's actually the launch title, even though it doesn't necessarily make sense from a console sales perspective. Nintendo might know that there's enough hardcore fans that are going to go buy the system day one regardless. They want to give Metroid Prime 4 a great shot to sell, and so they're going to do Metroid Prime 4 as a cross-gen release, and then like the following month, the Mario Kart or the 3D Mario comes out. Something like that could very much be the case as well, and I think as long as Nintendo creates a steady pipeline of new first-party software after they reveal this console and market it, well, then they're going to be in good shape either way from a total unit sales perspective. But that's all exciting as far as the summertime window, or really springtime still, but late spring. There is those PAX East rumors, so maybe Nintendo's going to be there in a big way. I definitely think that they will be. In fact, this is the first time that PAX East is being held as late as it is, as this year it will be May 8th through the 11th, and Nate the Hate does believe Nintendo will be there, potentially with some hands-on demos of the Switch 2 and showing off the games lineup in person. It might be an event I actually try to make it out to this year, if that does indeed all end up lining up, because that's going to be a big deal for Nintendo to show their hardware before they officially get it shipped out and ready for sale and all of that stuff. So I would love to see a console and some games hands-on before Nintendo brings them to market, but we'll have to wait and see with all that. But May and June does sound like it's loosely what to expect from that console launch window, and I don't think we're going to actually get the launch date from this reveal trailer, unfortunately. Nintendo will probably just promote it and will say, stay tuned in coming months for more communication, and it sounds like the end of February might be some kind of software presentation that they have planned for Nintendo Switch 2, and that's maybe where we learn a little bit more in terms of the price point and the actual launch date around said console. But from there, I do want to talk about a couple more exciting pieces of software that will be slated to come to Nintendo Switch 2. Both of these games do make sense to me, and there's actually some more that you could speculate we'll probably see, and even some reconfirmation of previous games we've talked about. But it sounds like Nintendo Switch 2 is going to have a ton of third-party support this time around. Ubisoft has claimed to have half a dozen games ready to go within the launch year. It seems like they're just going to be basically hand-picking a bunch of different games from their catalog that didn't make it over to Switch 1 that can easily be ported to Switch 2. But you can next see this following article over on VGC, which reads, Assassin's Creed games and Metal Gear Solid Delta tipped for Switch 2 release. Several third-party games in development for Switch 2 have seemingly been revealed. That's according to industry insider Nate the Hate, who has a strong track record of breaking news prior to its official announcement. The latest episode of their podcast claims Nintendo Switch 2 will be revealed this Thursday, January 16th, ahead of a possible launch in May or June 2025. It goes on to discuss a number of third-party games reportedly set to be released for the console, including Final Fantasy VII Remake in 2025 and sequel Rebirth in 2026. One title that will be there within the launch window comes from Ubisoft, and it's going to be Assassin's Creed Mirage, Nate the Hate said. Assassin's Creed Shadows, which will be released for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC in March following a recent delay, is expected to come to Switch 2 at a later date. To my understanding, Assassin's Creed Shadows is one of those in development ports. It just won't be ready for launch, and it probably won't be ready for the launch window, it's claimed. I've heard that Ubisoft is doing more than half a dozen games for the Switch 2, and a lot of them are going to be late ports. These are from a range of franchises like The Division and Rainbow Six Siege. There was also some discussion and consideration of doing a Mario Rabbids collection, so it would have 1 and 2 in a single package. It's just a question of when will these games come out, and I think for Ubisoft, if they can port a game, they will port the game. Some other third-party games I have heard include Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is coming out in 2025, Nate the Hate said. Right now it lacks the release date for all platforms, and I'm hopeful that maybe it's a day and date release when it comes to the Switch 2, because if that game, let's say, comes out in the summer of 2025, 2025, there's no reason it shouldn't be day and date. It was also recently claimed that Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 and Halo the Master Chief Collection are coming to both Switch 2 and PS5. So when you talk about the entire back catalog of third-party ports that just make sense to bring to Nintendo Switch, plus the new games like Metal Gear Solid Delta that don't have a release date yet that we know to look forward to in 2025, when you talk about all those games coming out potentially within the launch year of Nintendo Switch 2, to say that we were going to have a lot of software on our hands and try to good luck making time to play through all of it, I mean, it might be an understatement. Like, we may have a ton of first-party content from Nintendo stacked on top of a ton of quality third-party content that we want to play through. And Nate, while not being totally official on it and wasn't entirely sure, but he said that for sure it was in discussion for Bandai Namco and team to bring an Elden Ring port with Shadow of the Erd Tree and the entire base game all in one, a definitive edition, if you will, for Switch 2, potentially around the launch window as well, which would be a massive win. I mean, having that game, Elden Ring, just playable portably, even better in performance-wise than what the Steam Deck can play it, and having all of the DLC in one package at probably a $70 retail, it would be a great pickup and a no-brainer port for Nintendo Switch 2 when you look at the 20+ million units that game has moved on other platforms. Like, obviously Bandai's going to want it on a very successful platform like the successor to the Nintendo Switch will presumably be. So lots of exciting prospects when it comes to third-party ports, and we might only have to wait until May or June to get this console playable in our hands. So let me know in the comments down below what you make of all of these updates around Nintendo Switch 2, and if you are more or less excited as we are inching closer to this first look hardware trailer, and do you believe that we will indeed see it on the 16th? Oh, and I should mention, just a quick side note, The Verge and Tom Warren do expect the announcement for this reveal trailer to actually go out on the 15th, which would be Wednesday, maybe in the morning, maybe in the evening. It might be 12 or 24 hours advance notice, but they do believe we'll get some kind of advance notice on Wednesday, and we will know to expect it on Thursday. So if that is the case, you'll see me live streaming it. I'll make a breaking news announcement once that goes up, and we will definitely be covering all things Switch 2 here on the channel. But make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.